Hi, I'm Einar Tangen. Welcome to Reality Check. The Western traditional and social media narrative is that China was unprepared to begin its coexistence with COVID. These are the same groups that 40 days ago were demanding that China immediately reverse its COVID containment strategy on economic and humanitarian grounds, or face economic and political collapse. China's government earned stellar remarks in terms of people's support for its actions, as compiled by a slew of independent international surveys that put confidence in the central government between the high 80s to 95% since 2020. So, what is the reality?
我们最早承诺将新冠疫苗作为全球公共产品，率先支持疫苗研发知识产权豁免，最早同发展中国家开展疫苗生产合作，已向120多个国家和国际组织供应超过22亿剂新冠疫苗。
In fact, half of the vaccines administered over the last 3 years were from Chinese manufacturers who are willing to go the extra step by creating joint ventures to manufacture vaccines in other countries. A stark contrast to most of the developed nation manufacturers who refuse to share or reduce prices for their vaccines. The recent release of 60,000 deaths, fully or partially attributable to COVID, has stunned the doubters, who were forecasting 1 million or more deaths.
2022年12月8日至2023年1月12日，全国医疗机构累计发生在院新冠病毒感染相关死亡病例59938例，其中新冠病毒感染导致呼吸功能衰竭死亡病例5503例，基础疾病合并新冠病毒感染死亡病例54435例，死亡病例平均年龄80.3岁，65岁及以上约占90.1%，其中80岁及以上约占56.5%。
So, how has China been able to deal with COVID better than developed nations with more resources? Simply through basing its policies on science and pragmatic implementation. In terms of science, after the first outbreak in 2019, China shared the complete genome sequence of the novel coronavirus on January 11th, a little less than a month after it had been identified. It had taken over a year to do it in 2002 during the first SARS outbreak. By October 2022, 46 COVID-19 vaccines were in human trials in China, and over 20 in overseas clinical trials. These included 3 inactivated monovalent vaccines designed to neutralize Omicron variants, 3 domestically developed mRNA-based COVID-19 broad-spectrum vaccines, and oral inhalation vaccine that has already been approved for emergency use as a booster. So far, 13 COVID-19 vaccines have been developed and been given conditional market approval or green-lighted for emergency use in China. Recent agreements have opened the market for a number of outside approaches as well. In terms of pragmatic implementation, China, with 1.4 billion people, has, considering the logistics involved, been extremely effective. In the end, the truth will be reflected in the numbers. When the total excess deaths and disabilities are calculated and compared country by country, 6 months from now, China's handling of COVID can be compared apples to apples with other countries. So as you read through the latest criticism of China's handling of COVID, you might do well to think about the facts and ignore the spin, especially when it comes to measuring how your government handled COVID.